Now, let us be honest together, gently, uncompromisingly. Many of you have prayed until the tongue was dry and the knees were stiff, and still the heart throbbed with fear. You have prayed as if heaven were a court to be argued, as if God were a reluctant sovereign to be persuaded or informed, as though omniscience needed your news reports and omnipresence required your address. Lord, see this bill, fix this body, move that person, change this weather. And then you wonder why, when the words cease, the peace does not arrive, but a heavier weariness takes your shoulders. You are sincere. Oh, yes, sincerity is not in question, yet you are left more anxious, more self-condemning, more frantic, because nothing within registered the rest of God. Why? Because that prayer was labor, and labor belongs to the one who thinks he is the doer. That prayer was an attempt to work God, to wrestle a blessing from one who never withheld it. It was the old impulse to pressure heaven, talk louder, plead longer, imagine stronger, and the prophet has already told you, by might nor by power, but by my spirit. The master has already asked, who by taking thought can add a cubit to his stature? If your effort increases as your peace decreases, it is not God you are addressing. It is your own belief in a self that must make something happen. Now hear me with love. Stop. Stop. When you pray, said the master, do not go on with vain repetitions. Enter your closet. Shut the door. Be still and know that I am God. Do not inform God. God is not ignorant. Do not persuade God. God is not reluctant. Do not perform for God. God is not amused by performance. Prayer is not telling God. Prayer is stopping long enough to hear God. Prayer is the surrender of the noisy doer, that the still, invisible doer may be revealed. I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. If you pray and come out strained, you have not yet entered the closet. You have only rehearsed before a mirror. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy. This is not despair, it is doorway. As long as you believe there is power in a good thought, you are far from the kingdom, for thought is not power, God is power. As long as you believe that a greater volume of words can move the infinite, you will exhaust yourself in religious industry and call it devotion. Harmony does not come by manipulating the mind or massaging events. Harmony comes by grace. True prayer puts you on the receiving end of God. If your prayer does not place you there in the stillness where grace announces itself, you have engaged in spiritual athletics and will feel the lactic acid of the soul. Let us make it practical. Before you speak another word to God, let your tongue fall quiet. Hold those teeth together if you must. Sit not to think a better thought, but to abandon your claim to authorship. Treat God as what God is, omniscience, omnipresence, omnipotence, and therefore not in need of your scheme or schedule. Whisper within yourself, not to inform, but to yield. Father, reveal thyself, and then be still. Let the hush come. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it. Yet when the hush comes, you will know. Peace is the sign that prayer has begun, not ended. If peace is absent, you are still trying to be the worker. So I tell you now, with compassion and with rigor, if your prayer leaves you strained, you are still trying to do something. God alone is. Let the personal doer fail early, blessedly. Cease from persuading and begin to listen. Where God is and God is, grace flows by its own nature. And when grace is the activity, rest is the evidence. So now let us ask the question that undoes the whole habit. If God is omnipresent, from whom are you asking? If God fills all consciousness, all being, what distance are you attempting to close with your words. Whither shall I flee from thy presence? Cried the psalmist. If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. Tell me, if this is so, and it is so, where is the outside of God to which your prayer must travel? In what direction is the elsewhere of omnipresence? We have prayed as if God were a distant monarch who needed a messenger, as if good could be shipped from a celestial warehouse to a needy address. Admit it with me gently. Behind much of our pleading sits a picture me down here, God up there, my problem over here, God's solution over there. Two places, two powers, two presences. And having built that fantasy, we speak loudly into our own echo and call it devotion. The Master has already told us the kingdom of God is within you. If the kingdom is within, then what is this sending and this summoning? Are we writing letters to our own house and then waiting at the door for the postman to bring them back? Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. God is one, not two, not God in a problem, not God in a lack, not God in a sick condition. As long as you entertain a second thing with power, a fear with power, a disease with power, a bank account with power, or, yes, a thought with power, you have stepped outside the kingdom in belief. You have set up two thrones, one labeled God, another labeled something else. Then you labor to persuade the first to overthrow the second. My friends, there is no second. I am the Lord. Beside me, there is none else. When you know this, the warfare ends because the opponent is found to be a claim without law, a shadow without substance. This is not positive thinking. This is not a denial of appearances for the sake of optimism. Do not dress unbelief in a bright suit and call it faith. This is a return to spiritual fact as the ground of prayer. The fact is God is one. The fact is God is omnipresence, presence without circumference, life without opposite. The fact is in him we live and move and have our being. Therefore, the very impulse in you that seeks God is God seeking, and the hearing ear in you is God hearing. Prayer is not a broadcast sent to reach deity. Prayer is the discovery that there is no gap to cross, no night to outshout, no problem to oppose omnipotence. Lo, I am with you always. If always, what is this reach? So I ask you in holy simplicity, when you beg, to whom are you speaking as if absent? When you strive, what distance are you measuring that Christ has not already filled? Be honest, and then be still. God is one. Hold it there. God is one, therefore not God and a fearful thought, not God and a medical name, not God and an unpaid bill, not God and your past. God is final, complete, immediate. Let the old picture collapse. Let the twofold stage be struck. No more you here, God there. No more problem here, answer there. Treat God as what God is. Omnipresence. Treat prayer as what prayer is, receiving that which already is. When you begin here, the mouth grows quiet of itself, the heart stops pacing the floor, and a strange, blessed hush arrives. That hush is not the end of prayer, it is the beginning. In that hush, you will know without argument that begging assumed a distance that never existed, and recognition, simple, childlike recognition, has brought you home to the one who never left. In that hush, the next unveiling comes, the recognition that you are not the worker. The Master did not boast of a developed technique. He confessed a divine fact. I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. That is not humility alone. That is instruction. There is no personal power to manufacture grace, no mental lever to pull down heaven. As long as you sit to pray, believing that your personal faith, your personal worthiness, your carefully arranged sentences will cause God to act, you will be left with a taste of strain. Why? because hidden in that effort is the belief that you must be enough, enough in purity, enough in fervor, enough in form, and the soul grows tired under such a burden. Look at the mechanism of effort-driven prayer. It asks, have I said the right words? Have I believed strongly enough? Have I fasted long enough? Have I done my part? My friends, that is bookkeeping, not prayer. That is a nervous accountant tallying righteousness as if dividends of harmony are paid out to the most industrious. Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Who by taking thought can add a day to life, alter one hair, compel one breath? What you call effort is often fear with a religious vocabulary. It runs harder, hoping speed will pass for faith. It speaks louder, hoping volume will pass for power. But thought is not power. God is power. God is one. When you pivot on your own capacity, you stand on vapor. The foot never finds ground and the heart never rests. Now, here is your rigorous comfort. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy. This is not shame. It is honesty, and honesty is doorway. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Do you hear? Not your strength perfected by more practice, but divine strength revealed where personal strength admits its nothingness. Let this be your holy confession before you ever form a syllable. Father, I of myself do nothing. Let me feel thy presence. Stop, stop. Let the mask of the competent prayer fall. Let the pretense of the skilled metaphysician fall. If you will drop the tools, the carpenter will be found at his bench. What then is prayer when the doer is dismissed? It is no longer a performance to get God to move. It is the quiet recognition that God already is. It is not the mind pushing. It is awareness yielding. It is not the will building towers to heaven. It is the soul sitting in the temple not made with hands and discovering the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. In that silence you will not feel powerful. You will feel supported. You will not feel clever. You will feel carried. And in that carriedness, answers appear as what they are: grace, not wages. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it into being. You can only let the already is announce itself. The very moment the personal doer is silenced, the divine doer is revealed. And the sign of his revelation is peace first, then harmony is fruit. You will find yourself no longer pressing on heaven, but resting in presence. And in that resting, the Father within doeth the works. God is, hold it there until the breath loosens and the shoulders remember their innocence. God is. And because God is, you need not be mighty. You need only be still. Now that we have let the workers step aside, some of you will ask, what of our studies? Our affirmations, our beautiful verses. Are we to throw them away? No. But hear this distinction that stands between exhaustion and grace. There are two parts to this work, the letter of truth and the spirit or consciousness of truth. The letter points, the spirit is, the letter may instruct, correct, and remind. The spirit alone liberates. The letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. You can memorize every map of the kingdom and never set one foot inside it, or you can let one living breeze from the Spirit touch your cheek and know more of the land than a library can contain. When the Master said, "When ye pray, use not vain repetitions," he was not condemning Scripture. He was rescuing you from substituting noise for knowing. Vain repetitions are not only pagan chants of old, they are our modern lists, our long recitations, our frantic declarations, our bargaining with heaven. We say, I declare this, I decree that, I bind this, I loose that, and we imagine that the multiplying of sentences is faith. It is not. As long as you believe there is power in a good thought or in a clever phrase, you are far from the kingdom. For thought is not power. God is power. God is one. The tongue can move all day and the heart remain unvisited. The pencil can cover a page and consciousness stand where it stood in the dim hall of self-assertion. Do you see the deception? We love the letter because we can manipulate it. We can count it, schedule it, perfect it. We can feel industrious while remaining unavailable. But prayer is not industry. Harmony does not come by might or by power. Harmony comes by grace. The purpose of the letter is to bring you to the end of the letter, to escort you to the threshold where you remove your shoes, because the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. At that threshold, words have served. They bow and depart. Your prayer then becomes a wordless, thoughtless, inner realization, an awareness of the very is of God. Let me make it practical. Read a line if you must, a gentle line. The Lord is my shepherd. Or, in him we live and move and have our being. But then be still. Stop. Let your tongue fall quiet. Hold those teeth together if they itch to speak again. Close the book. Shut the door. Let the sentence you read dissolve into the one it named until there is no sentence left, only presence. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it. You can only let it announce itself where you have ceased from your own announcing. When it does, the sign is peace. Not ecstasy you conjure, not a trance you perform, but peace that needs no cause. That peace is the spirit of truth, arriving to do what the letter cannot give life. Consider it this way. There is all the difference between saying, "The Lord is my shepherd," and being shepherded. Between declaring, "God is supply," and resting where lack has no witness. Between repeating, "Be still and know," and actually being still until knowing happens of itself. The letter can point you to the pasture. Only the Spirit feeds you there. The letter may say, "Abide in me, and I in you," but only realized consciousness abides. We are not learning better sentences. We are learning to abide in presence. Do not misunderstand. The letter is holy when it serves its function. It knocks at your door in the morning to wake you to God. But if after it has wakened you, you keep talking to the alarm clock, you will miss the day. Let the letter wake you. Let the Spirit live you. Treat God as omniscience, omnipresence, omnipotence. Therefore, treat prayer as receptivity, not report. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy to produce results by verbal effort. Then very soft in your yielding to the one who requires no help to be all. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Not where many words are, not where intricate formulas are, but where Spirit is realized. God is. That two-word treatment ends argument and commences communion. Begin there, remain there. Let words take you to the door, let silence open it, let grace carry you through. Only then does the study become life, and only then does prayer cease to be performance and become presence. Take this now not as a slogan, not as a charm, but as a door you can actually walk through. God is, not God will be when you improve. Not God might if you plead. Not God if the stars align. God is. The tense ends the argument. The is shuts the mouth of the planner and stills the hand of the doer. You are not manufacturing a truth. You are consenting to it. You are not informing God. You are letting the mind step aside while presence announces itself. I am that I am, said the voice to Moses. Before Abraham was, I am, said the Master. Hear it. Not a future hope, an ever-present is. Now, make it simple. Sit down. Let the tongue lie still. Hold those teeth together if they itch to shape a plea. Whisper within, not loudly, not to convince yourself, but to bow. God is. Then stop. Stop. The mind will at once offer additions. God is my supply, my health, my guide. And 100 outlines will spring like weeds around the root. Not yet. Let the weeds wait. Stay with the root. God is. Remain until the sentence loses its edges, and only being remains. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet you can be aware of it. Be still and know that I am God. Not be clever and know, not be frantic and know. Be still and know God's being as the very ground of your own. What does this two-word treatment do? It arrests the argument. It stops the courtroom in your head where you summon witnesses and prosecute fears. It ends the bargaining with heaven. If you will, then I will, and the secret drafting of plans you wish to pass for prayer. It takes the pen from the personal doer who would write the script and says, I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. God is. That is the end of the doer and the beginning of the doer. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. The might of your affirmations cannot produce grace. The power of your visualizations cannot compel harmony. God is. And in that is, grace finds you because you have stopped hiding behind your words. Do not make of this a competition with your thoughts. Thoughts will come. Let them pass as birds fly across the sky. Do not chase them. Do not cage them. Do not decorate them with scripture. Return to the sky, not the birds. God is. The mind will say, but what of this bill? What of this body? What of this child? The temptation will be to outline the solution and call it faith. Stop, stop. Who by taking thought can add a cubit to his stature? Who by mental carpentry can erect a temple to house the infinite? God is. Here, the bill, the body, the child are drawn into oneness, not suppressed, not ignored, but found without separate law or power. I am the Lord, and beside me there is none else. Not God and the thing. God, and that is all. You will know when you have said it enough, not by a clock, not by a quota, but by the arrival of a quiet that does not belong to you. The shoulders release their anxious memory. The breath loosens. The inner earth keeps silence before him. Peace comes first, always first, as the herald of communion. When peace appears, prayer has begun. Then, without your planning, fruits arrive, freshness where fear was stale, right action without strain. A way in the sea and a path in the mighty waters. You did not build it, grace did. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. The two words did not make Spirit arrive. They made you stop speaking long enough to notice that Spirit never left. Take it into the day, not to wage war on appearances, but to rest in presence. God is when you wake. God is while you work. God is as you meet friend and stranger. God is when the night whispers its old worries. Each time the argument stirs, answer it with the end of argument. God is. Say it once and then listen. Say it twice and then listen. Say it until saying ceases and awareness remains. There, on the receiving end of God, harmony does not trickle from your effort. It flows as the nature of is. And you will discover the simplest secret of prayer, that communion begins the moment the bargaining ends. God is, that's all. And in that all is well. Let us make it living. Watch with me the before, not to shame it, but to expose its engine. You sit, you close your eyes, and immediately the tongue begins its sprint. Father, please help me. You see this bill. I don't know how to pay it. If you will make a way, I promise to be more faithful, to read more, to give more, and this body, you know the symptoms. If you will touch it, I will testify. Strengthen my faith, Lord. Make me believe more deeply. Do you hear it? Explaining. bargaining, promising. And beneath the syllables, a tightening in the chest. The shoulders creep up as if to hold the world in place. The brow gathers like a storm. You take a deeper breath to feel spiritual, and even that breath is work. When the words pause, you peer inside to see if you feel better, and not finding relief, you add another paragraph, louder, faster, more emphatic, as if volume were power. Lord, I claim it, I decree it, I bind it, I declare it done. And the heart answers with a drumbeat of demand. Stop there and diagnose with love. Who is working? It is the personal will straining to move God. It is personal fear, composing speeches to convince omniscience. It is personal strategy, arranging religious sentences as if heaven were a market and you must bid high. The center of that prayer is I pleading, I promising, I performing. My friends, that is why the pressure remains, because its premise is separation and its power is thought. And who by taking thought can add a cubit to his stature? Who by mental leverage can compel grace? As long as you believe there is power in a good thought, you are far from the kingdom, for thought is not power. God is power. God is one. Now, watch the after. You begin the same way. Father, please hell, and you catch yourself. Stop, stop. Let the tongue lie still. Hold those teeth together. Allow the hands to unclench in your lap. Let the shoulders fall back into their innocence. Do not finish the sentence. Let it dissolve into the one it meant to address. Whisper once within, not to inform, but to bow. God is, then be still. Be still, and know that I am God. No listing, no outlining, no promising. Treat God as omnipresence, not as audience. Treat prayer as receptivity, not report. Let silence be your only eloquence. Let the inner earth keep silence before him. Now name what occurs. The contraction loosens. The body remembers it is not Atlas. The breath, no longer a stage prop, finds its natural rhythm. The courtroom of argument goes dark. The judge, the plaintiff, and the defendant vanish in one presence. You are no longer seeking results. You are resting in reality. You are not trying to make God be here. You are noticing God never left. Peace arrives not because you constructed it, but because the performer exited and the doer was revealed. I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. You do not feel mighty, you feel carried. You do not feel clever, you feel kept. And from that peace, unplanned right action begins to appear without strain, without self-congratulation, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit. This is the difference, the holy before and after. Prayer changes the instant you stop performing and start receiving. The begging prayer tightens because it trusts a second power and a personal worker. The receiving silence opens because it recognizes one power and yields. Hold to the two words until the mouth is quiet and the heart is listened into rest. God is. Stay there. Let grace find you on the receiving end of God, and learn by experience that harmony is fruit, never wages. Now that you have tasted the quiet where the argument ends, let us ask the next honest question. What are you really asking for when you pray? You name supply, health, reconciliation, direction, words on envelopes you hope heaven will stamp and return. But beneath those labels is a deeper hunger that your mouth cannot quite form. It is the hunger for God. One thing is needful. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. The soul is not begging for packages. It is yearning for presence. And when presence is realized, harmony appears as fruit, not by your managing, not by your imagining, but by grace. This is the Goldsmith reversal, and you must be very firm with it. For the mind will squirm to keep its shopping list. Forget supply, demonstrate God. Forget health, demonstrate God. Forget reconciliation, demonstrate God. In demonstrating God, the picture conforms without strain, because in the realized oneness there is nothing left to oppose harmony. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Do you hear it? Want dissolves, not by accumulation, but by shepherding, by being led beside still waters, by presence realized where the anxious clerk once kept the books of lack. Prayer, then, is not God give me. That is bargaining with a phantom distance. Prayer is, Father, reveal thyself. That is consent to what already is. Acquaint now thyself with him and be at peace. Acquaintance is awareness. Peace is the sign that the answer has begun. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it into being. You can only yield to it and let it announce itself. The real answer to prayer is the revelation of God's presence, not the delivery of a package. Packages follow the presence as shadows follow form, without effort, without boasting, without a ledger. Let me tell you a story. A man came with a letter in his hand, numbers circled in red, the month closing upon him like a fist. He asked for money. I told him, no, we will not ask for money. We will sit for God. He looked surprised, then ashamed, then desperate. We sat anyway. We said the two words that end the pleading and begin the communion, God is, and then we were still. 5 minutes, 10. The shoulders let go, the breath remembered itself, and the room filled with that unprovable, undeniable quiet. He left without a plan, only with peace. 2 days later, a channel opened he had not outlined. The figures rearranged themselves without pushing, but listen carefully. The miracle was not the check. The miracle was the awareness that arrived before it. The check was fruit. The awareness was life. In thy light shall we see light. This is why anxious prayer shouts and receives nothing. Thought is not power. Fear in a religious costume is still fear. But when awareness is primary, when you abide in God is, fear's supposed authority collapses. Perfect love casteth out fear. Love is not sentiment. It is the realized nature of God as the only presence. Where one is, a second power has no law to stand on. I am the light of the world, said the Master. Light does not fight darkness. It reveals, and the shadow has no argument left. So translate your desires. Each time the mind rushes to name a thing, supply, health, direction, let the tongue halt. Stop, stop. Whisper within, not to fetch, but to bow. God is. Then, Father, reveal thyself. Remain until the ache for outcomes melts into the peace of omnipresence. There, you will not be indifferent. You will be guided. There, right action appears without strain. Reconciliation happens without campaigns. Provision flows without your engineering. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit. Seek the kingdom. Let the things add themselves if they must. Treat God as omnipresence, not as storehouse. Treat prayer as awareness, not transaction. And watch how, in the light of realized oneness, what you believed you needed turns out to have been a name for God all along. Now we must be exact about the enemy we have been unknowingly hiring as our helper. Thought, not intelligence as the radiance of God, but thought as personal machinery, the spinner of plans, the fixer, the worrier in a religious coat. As long as you believe there is power in a good thought, you remain in the realm of effort and counter-effort. You set up a wrestling match. Fearful thought on one side, corrective thought on the other, anxiety as prosecutor, affirmation as defense, and the gavel never falls because there is no judge, only noise. Which of you by taking thought can add a cubit to his stature? None. You cannot think your way into grace. You can only yield into it. Watch the cycle. A fear rises about the body, the bank, the child, and instantly the mind hurries to draft a rebuttal. No, no, I am healthy. I am supplied. All is well, and the heart pounds, and the voice gets louder, and the sentences get longer, and the silence is nowhere to be found. That is not prayer. That is mental carpentry. As long as you trust the counter thought to overpower the first thought, you are acknowledging two powers, fear and the so-called good thought. Two thrones again, two presences. And in that fantasy, you are far from the kingdom. Thought is not power. God is power. Therefore, there is only one power. If there is one power, then what is fear? A claim without law, a shadow announcing itself as substance. What is lack? A picture projected on the wall of belief. What is disease? A name we have permitted to borrow authority in our imagination. I am the Lord, and beside me there is none else. Not God and a thought, not God and a diagnosis, not God and a ledger. God is one. Do not argue with a shadow. Turn on the light. Do not wrestle with a claim. Recognize the presence. Light does not fight darkness. It reveals, and the shadow has no argument left. Now, the pivot, practical and uncompromising. When anxious thinking rises, do not fight it with more thinking. Stop, stop. Let the tongue lie still. Hold those teeth together. Refuse the courtroom. Take no thought for your life, not another pro or con, not another versus counterpunch. Sit. Whisper once, not to persuade, but to bow. God is. Then be still, and know that I am God. Not be quick, not be clever, be still. Let the wave of adrenaline pass like weather across the sky. Do not run into the storm with a broom. Return to the sky. God is. You will feel the temptation to help just one more affirmation, one more decree. That impulse is anxiety in robes. Let it go. Remember, harmony doesn't come by might or by power. Harmony comes by grace. Grace does not answer to your shout. Grace answers to your yielding. The sign that you have yielded is peace first, always first, even before the picture changes. He maketh the storm a calm, so that the waves thereof are still. That calm is not the product of your thoughts. It is the presence of God recognized as the only presence. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy to produce God with your mind. Then be very soft in the surrender. That lets mind be what mind is. God, infinite, indivisible, already here. When you notice the mind sprinting, do not lash it. Do not train it to run faster. Let it stop at the name that ends the race. God is. Remain until the shoulders. Remember, they are not holding up the world. Until the breath is no longer a project. In that quiet, the Father within doeth the works. Not you plus better thoughts. Not you plus louder prayers. Only God is God, one power, one presence, one life. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And the moment you cease from thinking as power, Spirit is noticed to be present as all the power there is. Now let us take the next step that rescues you from the last disguise of loneliness. Where two or more are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. Do not turn that into arithmetic. This is not head count. This is principle. The power is not in many persons. The power is in one presence realized. When two candles burn in a room, there are not two lights, only one light seen by two flames. So it is with prayer. It is never your private force coaxing a reluctant heaven. It is united consciousness consenting to the already is of God. Prayer is not private persuasion. It is participation in the one presence that is already here. You have experienced this in a room where hearts are quieted together, how peace thickens, how strain falls away, how with one accord becomes more than a phrase. But hear me, this gathering must be discovered first within. Within you there are two or more, the witness of truth that knows, the hunger for God that longs, and the quiet consent that yields. Let them meet in stillness. Let the inner earth keep silence before him. Do not send the witness to argue with the hunger. Do not let the hunger hire the planner. Stop! Stop! Bring both the yearning and the little strategist into one sanctuary and say once, not to inform, but to bow, God is. Remain until the witness rises above words and the hunger is tasted as God's own drawing of you to himself. There, I and them, and thou and me, ceases to be poetry and becomes presence. This inner gathering ends the ache of praying as if you were alone. You are not a solitary petitioner stranded on a dark road, waving at a distant carriage of mercy. You are an avenue through which the one presence realizes itself. The Father within me doeth the works. If the Father within does the works, how can you be alone? If God is omnipresence, where could absence be hiding? Even in your midnight room, with no human ear to hear you, united consciousness is present, your surrendered consent and the divine doer meeting as one. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it. You can only yield and find the midst mysteriously bright. Now, extend this beyond the skin. When two or more of us sit without agenda, no outlining, no bargaining, only the name, only the nature, only God is the sense of a private mind melts. We are not adding our powers. We are subtracting our separateness. Then the promise shows itself. If there be 10 righteous in a city, the whole is spared not by moral arithmetic, but by the light that one presence, consciously realized, throws across the face of appearance. Do not mistake this for crowd magic or group suggestion. Neither mind nor thought can heal. Spirit alone is power, and where spirit is realized, there is liberty. And now the pivot that prepares our next seeing in this gathering. Separation dissolves not only between you and God, but between you and the so-called problem. Do you see? You have been standing here with me, and over there the issue, and somewhere above God, and you have tried to bridge the distances with words. That is why you are tired. Bring them all into one sanctuary. Let the frightened voice and the pious fixer stand together in silence before the I am. Let the picture you have named problem be admitted not to be fought, not to be decorated with affirmations, but to be recognized as a claim that cannot stand before one, God is. In that united consciousness, the problem cannot remain what you imagined it to be because it no longer enjoys the illusion of a second law or a separate place. This is the practice. When the world begins to chatter inside you, arguments for and against, solutions and counter-solutions, do not hold a debate. Stop. Stop. Gather the witnesses. Gather the hunger. Gather even the picture that scared you, and let them keep silence before him. Whisper once, God is. Wait for the peace that signals the midst. From that midst, actions arise without strain. Healings appear without performance. Provision flows without engineering. Not by might, not by power, by my spirit. And as this inner communion stabilizes, you will find the last illusion of three God, you, and the problem ready to give way to the indivisible, one we will behold next. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Where two or more are gathered in that Spirit, the very idea of two becomes translucently one. Let us say it without embroidery, so the mind has nothing to climb on. There are not three here. God, you, and the problem are not three things. God and the practitioner and the patient are all one. There is not a healer in this corner, a condition in that corner, and God somewhere above conducting signals. That which constitutes a practitioner is simply a state of consciousness that knows this truth. Oneness is not a doctrine, it is the nature of being. I and my Father are one. In him we live and move and have our being. If this is so, and it is, then where could a second law enter? Where could a problem find a separate life on which to stand? What, then, is healing in this light? It is not the mind rearranging atoms. Neither mind nor thought can heal. Healing is awakening. It is the dissolving of a false sense of separation, the end of a dream in which a second power made its claim. Awake, thou that sleepest, and Christ shall give thee light. Light does not fight darkness, it reveals, and the shadow is found never to have been a thing in itself. So with disease, with lack, with fear, each is a name for a claim that cannot stand before one. I am the Lord, and beside me there is none else. Not God in the disease, not God in the debt. God is. When oneness is realized, the so-called problem cannot remain what you imagined it to be because it has lost its imagined place and law. Now, to practice disciplined, uncompromising, but free of strain. Do away with formulas when they are used as techniques to force heaven's hand. Stop treating prayer as a lever. Stop. Let your tongue lie still. Hold those teeth together. Prayer is not private persuasion. It is spontaneous recognition and silent listening. Be still and know that I am God. Not be clever. Be still. Let prayer arise as it will, an inner God is, and then quiet, a consent to presence, rather than a campaign to move it. Do not outline. Do not bargain. Treat God as omnipresent and omniscient. Let the inner earth keep silence before him. You will be tempted to get through to God as if omnipresence were a wall and you the locksmith. That is the last mask of separation. The issue is not getting through. The issue is staying with God's isness until the mind stops arguing. Remain with the two words that end the argument. God is until peace appears first, always first. Peace is the sign that the noise has thinned and the midst is known. In that peace, you discover not a talented you, but the doer shining forth. I can of my own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Harmony does not arrive because your words improved. Harmony appears because the sense of two has yielded to one. Try it in the very places that used to send you sprinting for techniques. A symptom speaks. A bill arrives. A relationship tightens into silence. The old habit reaches for a menu of affirmations. Not this time. Stop. Gather the picture and the frightened voice into the same sanctuary and whisper once, not to perform but to bow, God is. Then listen. Do not decorate the picture. Do not diagnose it with spiritual terms. Remain until the shoulders. Remember, they are not Atlas. Until the breath is no longer a project. Until the heart feels kept. In that recognition, the problem is revealed as a claim without power. Sometimes the outer picture shifts at once. Sometimes form lags the light. But the healing has already begun, for the separation has been pierced and oneness realized. Hold to this. God is one. Therefore, there is only one power. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. In that liberty, what posed as threat has no law, no origin, no continuance. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it into being. You can only yield to it and live. This is not an end, but a door. In a moment, we will make it your day's discipline, simple and sure, so that you may walk without strain, receiving, not performing, resting in the allness that already is. Now, make it your 7 days not as a stunt, not as a vow, but as a quiet rhythm that ends the argument 3 times each day. Morning, midday, night. 2 or 3 minutes each. No more at first. We are not reaching, we are recognizing. We are not outlining, we are yielding. Stop asking from distance, practice receiving from presence. Grace is the outcome. Morning before the feet touch the floor, stop, stop, hold those teeth together, let the tongue lie still. Do not open the day with a report to heaven. Do not draft an agenda for God. Whisper once within, not to perform, but to bow, God is. Then be still, and know that I am God. Not be clever, be still. Let the shoulders fall back into their innocence, the hands rest open, the brow unknit. Stay until peace appears first, even if it is the lightest veil of quiet. You may feel the mind try to gallop into plans and protections. Gently return. This is discipline, not drama. When peace is noticed, rise and walk without strain. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Let the directing be God's. Take only the next simple step. Midday, sometime between the clatter and the clock, stop, find a chair, a hallway, a parked car, 2 or 3 minutes. Again, hold the teeth together, let the tongue lie down. Refuse explanation. Do not tell God how the morning went. Do not bargain for the afternoon. Whisper once God is, and then listen. Take no thought for your life in that space. Take no thought for achievement or rescue. Let omnipresence be presence. The mind will demand results, will count minutes, will ask, is it working? Be very firm with it and very gentle. We are here for God. We are not moving God. We are consenting to be moved by God. Wait for the sign that always comes first, peace. When it appears, return to your task, not with a crusader's jaw, but with a kept heart, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit. Let that be your efficiency. Night before the pillow. Stop. Gather the pictures of the day, the praise and the bruise, the undone and the done, and bring them into the same sanctuary. Do not decorate them. Do not diagnose them. Place them before the I am, and whisper once God is. Then be still. He giveth his beloved sleep. Let the Father within do the works while you cease from your own. If peace takes 30 seconds to show its face, wait those 30. If it takes 2 minutes, give them. If you nod in that peace, you will sleep in it, and you will rise in it, for the kingdom of God is within you. Keep this rhythm for 7 days. Do not measure outcomes. Measure only obedience to stillness. The mind will invent scorecards. How much, how fast, how changed. Lay them down. As long as you believe there is power in a good thought or in a timed practice, you are far from the kingdom. The practice is not to cause grace. It is to place you on the receiving end of God. Grace is the cause. Your part is simple consent, repeated and quiet. Now, begin tonight with one honest concern, the one that keeps sending you to the toolbox. Bring it into the sanctuary without speeches. Stop. Hold those teeth together. Let the tongue fall still. Whisper once God is. Listen until peace appears first, always first. Then, without strain, take the next ordinary step the day requires. Send the email. Wash the dish. Make the call without trying to make a miracle happen. You are not the doer. The Father within me doeth the works. In that consent, you will find that right action reveals itself as needed, and what called itself a problem loses its throne. 7 days will not make God present. They will make you present to God. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy to run the universe, and very soft in your surrender to the one who is already here. As long as God is, I am. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Walk Then, without strain, morning, midday, night receiving, not performing, resting in the allness that already is. And you will learn by living that harmony does not come by might or by power. Harmony comes by grace.